The rain hammered against the empty street as Emma stumbled out of the car, her breath broken and trembling. Her eyes locked onto the sight that froze her soul. David, the man she built her world around, walked away with Claire, her closest friend. Emma whispered, "No, this can't be real," her voice breaking into the night. David's hand tightened around Claire's, his head turning just enough for Emma to see the guilt flicker across his face before it hardened into cold resolve. Claire whispered something, and they both laughed, oblivious to Emma's collapse. Emma's knees buckled as the umbrella slipped from her grasp. Her heart screamed louder than the storm itself, shattering with every step they took. Nothing could undo what she had seen. The betrayal was raw, sharp, and final, a wound she knew would never close. Emma sat motionless on the cold curb, her body trembling as the storm soaked her to the bone. She whispered, "He was my everything." The night echoed with silence, save for raindrops drumming against concrete. Her mind raced, piecing together every late meeting, every cold excuse, every unexplained absence. Betrayal had been crawling around her for months, and she had been blind. Now, the truth hit her with brutal force. She remembered the laughter they once shared, the promises whispered at night. It was all lies, every word a dagger hidden in affection. She pressed her face into her palms, sobbing, her heart tearing apart under the weight of her loss. The world felt empty, stripped of trust, stripped of love. Her phone vibrated weakly in her soaked pocket. She pulled it out, her fingers trembling as she tried to dial her sister, Megan. "Please pick up," Emma begged, her voice breaking. The call went unanswered, the silence piercing louder than thunder. Desperation clawed at her chest. She had no one to turn to, no anchor to steady her drowning heart. Emma's voice cracked again as she whispered, "Why, David? Why would you do this to me?" She hurled the phone onto the wet pavement, shattering the screen. Pieces of glass scattered like shards of her broken trust. She stared at the fragments, realizing they mirrored her own life, shattered, sharp, and impossible to piece back together. Emma dragged herself up, her legs heavy with despair. Each step toward the empty house felt like a descent into darkness. She replayed every lie David had told her. The business trips, the sudden overtime, faint perfume that lingered when he returned. She whispered, "How did I not see it?" Her heart pounded painfully, each beat reminding her of the love she had poured into a hollow vessel. The night's storm mirrored her turmoil. Thunder roared, lightning split the sky, yet her pain was louder. Her body shivered, not from the cold, but from betrayal's icy grip. She knew nothing would ever be the same again. Emma entered the silent house, the walls echoing memories now poisoned with deceit. She collapsed onto the living room floor, clutching a framed photo of her and David, smiling in happier times. Her sobs filled the empty space as she whispered, "You promised forever." Her fingers traced his face in the picture, trembling before she hurled it against the wall. Glass shattered, scattering across the floor like 1,000 broken dreams. She stared at the wreckage, her chest heaving with anguish. Every corner of the room screamed of betrayal. Love had lived here once, but now only pain remained. The morning light crept into the house, but Emma lay awake, her eyes swollen from tears. She whispered, "I gave him everything." The walls around her, once filled with warmth, now seemed hollow. Memories of David's laughter echoed like ghosts in her mind. She remembered the birthdays she planned, the sacrifices she made, the countless nights she stayed up waiting for him. Each moment replayed as a cruel reminder that her devotion had meant nothing. Her heart ached with the weight of betrayal, but a voice inside begged her to rise, to fight for the fragments of herself still left. Emma whispered, "I can't let him destroy all of me." The words trembled, but they carried the spark of survival. Emma moved through the kitchen like a shadow, her fingers trailing across the counter where David once sat, drinking coffee. The silence was heavy, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator. She whispered, "I built this life for us." Her hands shook as she picked up a coffee mug, staring at the lipstick-stained rim from the night before, proof of Claire's intrusion into her world. She hurled the mug into the sink, the crash echoing like her shattered heart. Every corner of the house betrayed her, every object tainted by his lies. She clutched the edge of the counter, breath ragged, knowing she had to face the truth, no matter how much it burned. Emma sat on the couch clutching her knees, her phone buzzing with unanswered calls. Megan's name lit up on the screen, but Emma couldn't bring herself to answer. She whispered, "What could I even say?" Fear of pity, of judgment, kept her silent. She wanted her sister's arms around her, but shame chained her voice. Images of David with Claire poisoned her thoughts, each memory sharper than the last. She buried her face into a pillow, her sobs muffled. The world outside continued unaware, but inside, Emma was drowning. The betrayal wasn't just loss of love, it was the theft of her identity, her trust, her very soul. As afternoon shadows stretched across the floor, Emma wandered into the hallway, drawn to the family portraits hanging on the wall. She touched the glass of one photo, her, David, and their children at the beach. Her voice cracked. It was supposed to last forever. The smiles in the photo mocked her, frozen in a time when trust was still alive. Her reflection stared back from the frame, a stranger's face she no longer recognized. Anger boiled under her grief, igniting in her chest like fire. She clenched her fists and whispered, "He stole my future." The words hung in the air, heavy and final, a vow of pain she would never forget. The sun dipped below the horizon, and Emma sat by the window, staring at the empty street. She whispered, "Who am I without him?" The question tore through her chest. The silence around her felt suffocating. She thought of the years spent nurturing a love that had betrayed her, the sacrifices she made for a dream that wasn't real. Her eyes burned as fresh tears streamed down. Yet beneath the grief, a fragile determination stirred. Somewhere in the wreckage of her heart, she felt a flicker of strength, faint but alive. She exhaled, whispering, "I have to find myself again." It was the first step towards survival, even if it felt impossible. Night had fallen again when Emma unlocked David's laptop, her hands trembling. She knew she shouldn't, but her need for answers outweighed her fear. The screen lit up, revealing emails filled with words meant for Claire. Emma whispered, "So it's true." Each message dripped with intimacy, mocking the vows he once spoke to her. She scrolled further, her chest tightening with every line. Promises of weekends away, words of love, even plans for a future. Her stomach churned, betrayal cutting deeper than before. She slammed the laptop shut, gasping for breath. The lies were no longer hidden. They lived in front of her eyes, undeniable and cruel. Emma's hands shook as she clutched her phone, scrolling through hidden messages. The words were clear, mocking her loyalty. "Meet me tomorrow. Can't wait to see you again," David had written to Claire. Emma whispered, "He never loved me." Her breath caught as her chest heaved with rage and sorrow. The love she gave so freely had been sold for lies. She dropped the phone onto the table, her body trembling. Tears burned, but anger pushed them back. She whispered again, "You destroyed us." The room seemed smaller, suffocating her, as if the walls themselves knew the truth she had ignored for too long. The next morning, Emma sat across from Megan in a quiet cafe. Megan, her older sister, reached out and whispered, "You don't deserve this, Em." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "He lied to me, Meg, all this time." Megan squeezed her hand, her face full of sorrow, but steady with strength. "You're stronger than him, stronger than this," she said firmly. Emma nodded weakly, but her heart felt crushed, the betrayal still raw. She longed for comfort, but every reminder of David's deceit made her chest ache harder. Still, Megan's presence anchored her, giving her a fleeting moment of hope in the storm. Emma returned home to find the scent of David's cologne still lingering in the living room. The smell turned her stomach. She whispered, "Even your presence hurts me now." She grabbed a cushion from the sofa and hurled it against the wall, her rage exploding in silence. Her hands shook as she looked around at the life they built, every object a reminder of him. Her voice trembled as she cried out, "Why wasn't I enough?" The words echoed in the empty house, a raw cry from the depths of her broken heart. She sank to the floor, consumed by grief and fury, knowing she was living in a prison of memories. Late at night, Emma stood in front of the bathroom mirror, gripping the sink tightly. Her reflection stared back, hollow eyes rimmed with red. "Who are you now?" she whispered. The woman in the mirror felt like a stranger, someone broken and unrecognizable. She splashed cold water on her face, but the ache remained. The betrayal wasn't only about David and Claire, it had stolen her sense of self. She whispered again, "I don't even know me anymore." Her tears fell into the sink as she leaned heavily, exhausted by the storm inside. Her fight to hold on was slipping away, leaving only despair. Emma's phone buzzed as she sat in darkness. She almost ignored it, but the name on the screen froze her. Her estranged mother, Linda. Her voice cracked when she answered, "Mom." On the other end came a heavy sigh. Linda whispered, "There are things you don't know, sweetheart." Emma's chest tightened. "Not now, Mom. I can't." But Linda's words cut through. "It's about your father. He isn't who you think he is." Silence swallowed Emma as her breath caught. Betrayal layered itself deeper than David's lies. Her entire world teetered, not just her marriage but her very family. Emma listened as Linda's voice trembled on the phone. "I should have told you years ago. The man you call Dad isn't your real father." Emma's heart pounded, her grip tightening on the phone. "You're lying," she whispered, but the truth burned in her gut. Memories rushed back, her father's distant affection, his coldness she never understood. Betrayal had been planted long before David, hidden in her bloodline. Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, "I've been living a lie my whole life." The silence from Linda carried the weight of guilt too heavy to deny. The phone slipped from Emma's trembling hand, crashing onto the carpet. She pressed her palms to her temples, whispering, "I can't take this anymore." The betrayal of David, and now her mother's confession, collided inside her chest, leaving her gasping. Every pillar she leaned on had crumbled. She stared blankly at the ceiling, her tears falling freely. "Everything was a lie," she whispered into the emptiness. Her body shook violently, her spirit unraveling with each breath. The storm outside rattled the windows, echoing the chaos within. Megan rushed to Emma's side later that night, pulling her into a tight embrace. Emma sobbed against her shoulder, whispering, "Everything's broken, Meg. David, Mom, even Dad." Megan's eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained steady. "You're not broken, Em. They are." Emma shook her head violently. "I don't even know who I am anymore." Megan squeezed her tighter. "You're my sister. You're stronger than their lies. Don't let them steal you too." For a fleeting moment, Emma felt anchored again, though the weight of truth still crushed her heart. Emma stood before the family photo wall, staring at her father's portrait. "Was it all a lie?" she whispered. Her reflection in the glass looked hollow, her face streaked with tears. She touched the frame, then ripped it from the wall, shattering the glass on the floor. Her heart screamed with pain, but her voice steadied as she whispered, "I'll find the truth." The betrayal had multiplied, but so had her resolve. For the first time, Emma felt the stir of fire inside her chest, not just pain, but a hunger for answers. Emma waited in the cafe, her heart pounding as David walked in. He looked startled to see her, his eyes darting nervously. Emma's voice was calm but trembling. "We need to talk." David sat down, his jaw tight, his hands clenched. "Emma, this isn't the place," he muttered. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "You destroyed me in every place. So here is fine." He flinched as her words cut deeper than any scream. The silence between them roared louder than thunder. Emma's chest heaved, but she held his gaze, ready for the confrontation that could break her or free her. Emma's voice quivered as she whispered, "I read your messages." David's eyes widened, panic flashing before anger replaced it. "You went through my things," he snapped. Emma's hand slammed onto the table, her voice breaking. "You went through my life." The cafe around them blurred into silence as their world exploded between words. David's shoulders slumped, guilt seeping into his expression. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he muttered. Emma's tears burned, but she refused to falter. "You meant every word you wrote to her," she said, her voice steady and cold. Emma leaned closer, her voice sharp as glass. "You didn't just betray me, you betrayed our family. You betrayed yourself." David's lips parted, words caught in his throat. He whispered, "I'm sorry." Emma laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. Sorry doesn't erase years of lies. The cafe's hum of chatter faded under the weight of their confrontation. Emma's heart pounded, her pulse a drum of fury. For the first time, she wasn't begging for answers. She was demanding truth. Her eyes burned into him, forcing him to face what he had done. David finally whispered, "I was lost, Emma. I didn't know who I was anymore." Emma's breath caught, her voice rising. "And you found yourself in her? You destroyed me to save yourself?" David lowered his gaze, ashamed. Emma's voice trembled but held fire. "You stole my trust, my love, my future, and you thought I wouldn't survive it." The cafe air felt electric, heavy with unspoken pain. Emma sat taller, her chest heaving as strength replaced her despair. She whispered, "You'll never break me again." The confrontation reached its peak as Emma stood, her chair scraping loudly. Every eye in the cafe turned, but she didn't care. Her voice cut through the silence. "I gave you everything. You gave me nothing but betrayal." David sat frozen, his mouth open but silent. Emma's hands trembled, but her eyes glistened with unbroken resolve. She turned and walked out, leaving David drowning in the wreckage of his lies. As the cafe door slammed shut behind her, Emma inhaled deeply. Her heart was shattered, but her spirit had risen, blazing with the strength of survival. Emma walked along the quiet street at dawn, the rain from the night before leaving the pavement glistening. Her heart still carried the weight of betrayal, but each step felt lighter. She whispered, "I survived." The silence was different now, not suffocating but steady, like a breath after drowning. The storm had passed, though its scars remained carved into her soul. She thought of David's face, his lies, her mother's confession, all woven into a tapestry of pain. Yet somehow, beneath the ache, she felt a flicker of strength. "I'm not the woman they broke," she said softly, her voice trembling but real. Back at home, Emma sat at the kitchen table with Megan, a steaming cup of tea between them. Megan reached across, squeezing her hand. "You're stronger than you know," she said. Emma's eyes welled, but this time the tears weren't only grief. "I thought I lost myself," she whispered. Megan smiled faintly. "You found the real you." The house felt different with her sister there, no longer haunted but gently alive. Emma's chest loosened, the suffocating weight lifting slightly. She still hurt, but she wasn't alone. That truth gave her hope, fragile yet undeniable. Later that afternoon, Emma walked through the park, watching children play. Their laughter stung but also soothed, reminding her of the innocence she still carried within. She whispered, "There's still life here." She sat on a bench, breathing in the crisp air, her shoulders slowly relaxing. The betrayal had torn her apart, but it hadn't ended her. The world still spun, the sun still rose, and she was still here. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, not of happiness but of survival. "I will heal," she said, the words fragile but true. That evening, Emma stood at her dresser, holding the broken photo frame of her and David. Her fingers trembled but didn't collapse. "You no longer own my tears," she whispered. She placed the photo in a drawer, closing it with quiet finality. The act was small, but it felt monumental, like burying a ghost. Her reflection in the mirror looked stronger now, though the pain still lingered in her eyes. She whispered again, "I choose me." The words were soft, but they echoed like a vow, grounding her in a new strength she hadn't known before. As night fell, Emma stepped onto the porch, wrapped in a blanket, gazing at the sky painted in fading orange. Her chest rose and fell slowly, steady for the first time in weeks. She whispered, "The pain is still here, but it doesn't control me. The stars began to appear, faint glimmers of hope above. Emma's lips curled into a quiet, weary smile. The wounds were deep, but so was her will. She whispered again, "I will rise." The night embraced her, not with silence of despair, but with calm, promising that tomorrow carried a chance for healing. The house was quiet as Emma sat alone at the dining table, the shadows of the night stretching long across the floor. Her phone rested in front of her, the screen dark. She whispered, "Who can I trust now?" The silence pressed in, heavy and unyielding. She reached for the phone, dialing Megan's number, but the call rang endlessly before dropping into silence. Emma's eyes filled with tears again. "Not even her tonight," she whispered. The weight of betrayal pressed on her chest like an anchor, reminding her that even surrounded by loved ones, she was still alone now. Emma rose slowly, her body heavy with exhaustion, and wandered into the hallway. The broken glass from the photo frame still glistened faintly on the floor, untouched. She crouched, her hand hovering over the shards, her reflection fractured in the pieces. She whispered, "This is me now. Shattered, but still here." She didn't pick them up, leaving them where they lay, as if honoring the truth of her brokenness. For the first time, she didn't fight the pain. She accepted it, raw and unhealed, yet undeniably hers. Her chest ached, but her heart still beat. Emma walked into the living room, sinking onto the couch, her body trembling with fatigue. She pulled a blanket over her shoulders and whispered, "Tomorrow will come whether I want it or not." Her eyes wandered across the empty room, every corner whispering memories of David, of Claire, of her family's lies. She felt their weight pressing down but did not collapse. Instead, she inhaled deeply, steadying her breath. The night was heavy, yet inside her chest, a quiet defiance began to grow. Pain had stolen much, but it hadn't stolen her will to endure. The phone buzzed suddenly on the table, startling her. Her breath caught as she saw David's name flash across the screen. For a moment her heart lurched, torn between anger and longing. She let it ring, staring at the glow until it went dark. A heavy silence followed. Emma whispered, "You don't own me anymore." The words were quiet, but her chest rose with a strength she hadn't felt in weeks. For the first time, she had chosen herself over him. The ache remained, but in that small act, she reclaimed a piece of her power. Emma stood by the window, the night sky vast and endless above. Her breath fogged the glass as she whispered, "I am still here." The stars twinkled faintly, indifferent yet eternal. Her heart was cracked, her world rebuilt on fragile ground, but she was alive. She pressed her hand to the glass, her reflection staring back with weary strength. A tear slid down her cheek, but her lips curved into the faintest smile. The betrayal had scarred her, but it had not destroyed her. In the silence of the night, Emma realized the final truth. She would rise, even in pieces.